feel like game here.
Injustice 2. It's a cool game. It's better than Gods Among Us. Obviously. Better graphics, gameplay. Better roster. You'll notice it's definitely one of those games where, you know, sometimes sequels aren't always that great. Well, according to everyone else, I like sequels, but some sequels do a really good job at kind of just, I mean, that's what they're supposed to do. Like, Destiny 2 is a good example. What's nice about sequels in this case is, like, when it's not this oversaturated, like, there's 10 games of the same thing, and because odds are if there's only one game, Gods Among Us, and then this, there's probably a pretty good chance that this is going to be, like, that much significantly better. Which is always kind of nice too, because this is a fighting game, and there was pro esports tournaments and all that, so having a game that just really separated itself from kind of this much older style. And granted, even Gods Among Us isn't like old, but to me it's pretty old. It's kind of rough, to be honest. God, just the graphics alone, it makes such a difference. Like, 2 just feels so much more modern and just clean and smooth and very flowy. But yeah, and it's the last, and you know, is there ever gonna be an Injustice 3? I kind of doubt it. I feel like the game's kind of had its time. There's plenty of, you know, tournaments based on it. It definitely had a life. I mean, it's still relevant today, even, like, you'll kind of hear it be mentioned here and there. You know, it's a staple in the fighting game universe. I actually wish I played this before Gods Among Us, but I played Gods Among Us first. Because what got me into Injustice at all was 2. I didn't really care about Gods Among Us at all. But I'm also kind of used to, like, MKX, MK11, MK1 now. You know, seeing Warner Bros. At kind of their best at what it is that they do and what they can do with their games and the direction they go in and the formula and the flavor they have. This whole very cinematic, big dramatic kind of thing. Everyone's intertwined, doing this and that. Like, this does it so well. It's so much more relatable to what Mortal Kombat can do as far as Warner Bros. Goes. NetherRealm Studio, whatever. It just works. Even, like, MKX is old. I'm a little more biased towards Mortal Kombat to be fair, but yeah, even MKX is kind of rough, but like, I guess I'd say it's aged a lot better. But, yeah, Gods Among Us, this is so much more of a just overall better experience. That's basically the gist of it. Other than that, it's like, it's more Injustice. It's kind of this generic, you know, story. What stood out to me the most, I think, though, for me personally, was because, like, hey, I like superheroes, but, like, I can live with them or live without them, really. But the roster for this game, oh man. Dude, you got Black Manta, you got Hellboy, right there, I'm sold. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Granted, those are, DLC guys, but... still, I mean... But obviously you still got all the classics in the base roster. Yeah, between watching the pros and then playing it myself, and... It's just a good little time. It's a good, you know, day's worth of just kind of goofing off and having something to play that's very, you know, that's just entertaining. It's not even so much these campaigns need to be good or make sense or this or that, but just the fact that, like, hey man, we get plenty of voice acting and dialogue and cutscenes, and it breaks up the combat nicely, and you know, you never kind of know who you're gonna see next. Like, oh, I know who that is, or I've seen that character before. Because in a weird way, between Mortal Kombat and superhero stuff in general, it's like, hey, I never read any comics. There's so many heroes out there that you don't even really know who half of them are. This is a good way to kind of get to know them, but... You know, it's kind of the similar deal with Mortal Kombat. There's been so many Mortal Kombat games throughout time that... I don't know who half of those bastards are, but it's cool getting to know them and who they are, and... Because I've only really played a few Mortal Kombat games forever. So, basically between Mortal Kombat and Injustice, superhero stuff basically. You know, I don't know who everyone is, and I'm more or less biased towards certain characters, and that's what makes these games kind of fun, is the whole, like, the mix and mash, and it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles too. Basically, I would say more licensed characters are the ones I'm kind of after, because, like, granted, they're all licensed in a way, but, like, yeah, I don't mind Aquaman, I don't mind Poison Ivy, I don't mind Batman, I don't mind Robin, blah blah blah. But it's even just how I look at superhero stuff as a whole, it's always been some kind of a passive... Yeah, they're alright kind of thing. What's cool about this game, though, with what it does, is that I don't really look at it like Marvel vs. Capcom. I think that was more of like a gimmick. But here they really go hard. It's just the movies are so over the top. The green screen, the CGI, we've all kind of had that opinion at some point in time. Goes guys, a bunch of guys in underwear running around. But here it's like, dude, you know, you're beating the shit out of each other, dude. It's awesome. Cutscenes are cool.
Kara, come quickly. Stay with me, Kara.
Mother, the ship, it just... Argo City's gone. Millions of people.
Yeah, it's definitely not a bad game. It really, when you play it, I don't know, it's cool. It's literally like watching a movie. And especially being tied to Warner Bros. It's what you expect, but it's like a very interactive movie. What's cool is you could probably, you know, more or less, you could probably sit there for like 5 minutes and actually enjoy watching something, and then, oh, I gotta pick up the controller, a fight starting. I'm mostly going off of single player, obviously, because I don't really mess with the multiplayer, but I realize that is kind of the bigger, longer lifespan of the game, whatever. But I look at these campaigns kind of like Call of Duty. Like, clearly they're more focused towards multiplayer, online, surprise. But they really give a shit and an effort on the campaign for that audience, just like me. That's literally the only reason why I got it. I didn't get any of the DLC characters, but it's tempting, or I could at whenever I want. But just to even play as Hellboy, I've always loved the movies. I've loved Black Manta's design ever since Jason Momoa Aquaman. Like, dude, that guy looks sick. The red eyes and he's got this whole thing going. He looks dope. Yeah, long, you know, here and there history with Batman, and there's a lot of characters I don't really care for, which is kind of, it's similar-ish with Mortal Kombat. With Mortal Kombat, it's cool because they're all just this kind of nice, this really cool elite group of fighters, and they're all very individual and their own specialties and abilities and fighting styles and stances. And with the superhero thing, it kind of just like, well, they got some powers and little boops and bops, and I don't really care. I can play anybody, and it wouldn't really matter to me. Like, I wouldn't notice a difference at all. I gotta say that with Mortal Kombat too, because okay, like, they're all gonna kind of more or less do the same thing. They have one job, man, just to fight. It's not even so much like they're, like, even these more godlike Superman, for example, it's not like he's gonna insta-kill you or anything. It's still a balanced fighting game. But yeah, no one really stands out in that way, which is kind of interesting. I know that has to be a thing, but honestly, if you could just be someone and actually be as powerful as they actually are, that could be kind of cool. Because my thing with these matchups is like, you know, if we're going off of data and statistics, and some of these are just wacky as hell, like, there's just no way. And I kind of like that more realism. Like, if we were to actually factor in these kind of things, instead of it just kind of all being measured because of the game's sake. Like, if you could somehow, even just for fun, I don't really care for Superman, I don't want to give him too much credit, but if you could be him, or in like a Mortal Kombat sense, like an Elder God, I feel like you should be able to pretty much like destroy the whole roster. I mean, That's kind of the point. There's kind of these pivotal levels here, and like if you could do a combo or I don't know, that could be kind of fun. It wouldn't make sense in this case, but just for like funsies. Like if we're thinking DLC characters, especially Hellboy, Spawn, really cool, awesome, dark, evil, well, characters like that, just fucking obliterate. Some Exodia. You always get the flashy moves and the superpowers and like their special abilities, whatever, but man, I don't know. I mean, hey, this isn't a card game. I wish it could be literally Exodia. Exodia. Obliterate! Just like, it just fucking... I don't know. It's just a thought. Because I think it makes some characters much more significant. Like Batman's really good. But does he actually stand a chance against half these characters? Probably not. I mean, he's got his ways, he's resourceful, but like, I don't know, that's just kind of the stuff that goes through my mind. Like, it's kind of ridiculous to go there because, like, you know what you're playing, you know what you're doing. There's no point in even thinking about it too much because... But that's the thing, though, is you don't have a lot of chances. I mean, there's always been superhero games, but they're kind of spotty. And that's fair. Like, if they have their own games, you know, yeah, you can go over there and do whatever the heck you want, but I don't really like brawler games either, though, and that's kind of all that they are. What's cool here is that it is a fighting game. It's not some running around punching people. Like, at least this kind of makes sense, and it's much more established and like official, and this kind of clash of these two superpowers. And maybe I've just watched like too many like versus battles. Like, hey, what if this person from this universe fought this person? And the only thing that puts that in my mind is like Spawn and Hellboy, like people that don't really belong. Like they're there, but they're not there. Maybe they're associated with DC or however kind of that works, but similar with, I guess, a Marvel kind of thing in that kind of way. You know, in association with Marvel. Because really, I mean, and I get this is no like live action adaptation, like a YouTube video, like, you know, what if, if these two fought, how would it go down? But that's what's so cool about this, is that it's all there. They have everybody, but they're kind of just... They're very limited, and I don't like that limitation. Because I think some of these characters, man, you just gotta let them go all out and go beast mode and just go crazy. That's kind of the point. The gameplay is cool.
Embarrassed for you.
Yeah, it's a cool game. I mean, if it wasn't for watching esports, I probably would have never played it. Cause like, hey, I don't mind fighting games, but I'm kind of picky and selective. I mostly like Mortal Kombat and Tekken, but those games have also been around for so long too. I mean, Injustice has only been around for so long, as far as I know. But yeah, it definitely really did wiggle its way into the fighting game world. The only thing that throws me off though is it's so weird for me to play it because it's not Mortal Kombat. It doesn't really play the same. It's similar elements, but it's not Tekken. Not even just aesthetically in the world and all that, but just the gameplay. So I definitely had a weird time like adjusting to the whole. And thankfully it's still the Warner Bros. NRS game, so it's still, if any, obviously if it felt like anything I was familiar with beforehand, it was Mortal Kombat, obviously, but it felt stiff, and not stiff in a way like, depending on how they handle the frames and the slow motions, the hits, however, whatever that's kind of called, I guess. Because every fighting game kind of has their own, like, their kind of movements and but more like, that's what made it kind of cool too, because it's almost a really unpredictable gameplay style. It's kind of like you may or may not do what you're expecting to do, but you kind of more or less know what you're doing. But yeah, I don't know. It worked out well because there's a lot of different ways to kind of open up what it is that you're kind of wanting to do. Like, because it's kind of this zigzag. I look at Mortal Kombat and Tekken for that matter, very, you know, kind of straightforward. When Injustice to me, I know, is unfamiliar, and because the thing is, a fighting game player, it's kind of just this really smooth transition over. It's, oh, you know, whatever. Like, you still have to get used to the game and learn it and feel for it, but one reason why I wouldn't probably play this more regularly or whatever is just because, like, it just feels off. You know, Superman's floating. It's just kind of awkward. It fits in more of the category of like, hey, not everyone's really on this kind of equal little playing field ground. I mean, they are, but just kind of because they vary so much and yet so little, but it's like, it's almost like, hey, they're all superheroes, but it's almost variety for variety's sake. It's not even like, oh, we got this guy, we got this big tall guy, we got the short guy, this fat guy, this guy floats, this guy That's what fighting games are good at, is variety. But I kind of like it when, like, hey, we're all in kind of this equal level playing ground here. Let's make it fair. It's like PvP in like a... It's like Halo. It's like, hey, we're all wearing the same suits, more or less. We just look different. Same guns, same playing field. We're using the same stuff. It's just more of a skill. Like, what can you bring out? Versus something like Destiny Crucible, for example. You know, 3 different classes. There's just a lot more variables. Like, and that's cool in its own way too, because you can really kind of work with what you got. But this, I don't know. There's gonna be very obvious advantages and disadvantages to just how someone gets around, and it's all about personal feel, and being biased can help too. It's funny though, because being biased doesn't always help. You might end up playing someone that just feels better. That's what this game feels like to me, is because I'm just not like a fighting game guy, really. It's kind of this, and that's part of its appeal, I guess, in a way, is that, you know, if it's not something like Mortal Kombat or Tekken, where I feel like it's much more fleshed out in a way, it's something like this where you can kind of really mix up those playing styles, and you can play one character and it's gonna feel so different. At least more or less, and at least to me personally, Tekken and Mortal Kombat, you can kind of play just about anyone. It's gonna feel different, obviously, but like you're comfortable, because at this point it's all about just kind of picking who you want, really, and blah blah blah. I mean, in Injustice, you kind of gotta just make it work however you can. And it's all about the mindset too, like the mind games, like who can I play that's just gonna be the most kind of overpowered, quick, something that matches what I would normally go for, kind of offsetting, confuses your opponents, throws just, it's not hard to find someone like that, because there's always gonna, whether it's someone I like or not, and that's what makes this interesting. You know, I think the some other fighting games are a little bit more like, you know what you're kind of like getting yourself into and expecting, and because they're all built on like an equal foundation. It's tough to say things like this though too, because it's like, well, okay, I never played like Grand Blue and King of Fighters and Virtua Fighter and Skullgirls, whatever the heck else is floating out there, Fatal Fury, a little bit of Street Fighter. But I just kind of assume it's more or less the same thing with all that stuff too. It's kind of this Dragon Ball Z Fighters. It's kind of just this like, they're their own fighting games, so obviously they are going to be done in their own way. But Killer Instinct, Marvel vs. Capcom, yeah, that's most of them. So when I say Injustice kind of is funky for me, that's only because I just never really touched any more than really 2 games mainly, so whatever. But yeah, Injustice and superheroes, that's what you see is what you get. That's it. It's just a better version of one. But yeah, very, very much enjoyable, for sure. Yeah. Injustice 2.